Right. So this is Shouh. This is my good friend Richard Mapes. Welcome to the channel. Once again, we're doing something a little different today, doing it a bit of a podcast / like YouTube style.
Yeah.
Richard Mapes hails from Denver and also spends time and lots of time in LA as well. Is a digital projection mapping artist, and he also has a background in architecture. So one of the reasons why I wanted to test this idea out and start the series is because I meet with a lot of different creatives with different walks of life, with different experiences, and I think it would be a great opportunity for me to not just pick their brain, but for the audience to be able to learn more about what their life's like.
Like Pete said, I started in architecture. Both of my undergraduate and graduate degrees are in architecture. So for the first part of my career, I was pursuing practice in the context of architecture firms. But I found myself kind of gravitating towards firms that were interested in storytelling. So ended up working for an office in Colorado Springs for a long time called Mark Harris Architects. Shout out to you, Mark, if you see this. Where we were thinking about how to redesign the home based on how our own various performances of everyday life. And at the same time, we're working on conceptual projects that were also very narrative driven. So I worked with Mark as a curator and as a designer for an installation at the 2018 Venice Biennale. So having 2 feet both in kind of the conceptual world, maybe more academic world with the curation design, but then also the practical world where we're thinking about how daily life is changing, was a foundation for me to go on to get my graduate degree at SciArc, which is where I really leaned into this idea of narrative-driven design. But at SciArc, I was introduced to a myriad of cutting-edge tools in the digital realm. So real-time tools like Unreal Engine, video game engines, projection mapping, digital design, animation, and it kind of, over the course of 2 years of study, started to make me think, well, if storytelling in a spatial sense isn't limited just to physical materials, but we could start to augment those stories with things that are maybe more fantastic in terms of fantasy.
I think the second question I want to focus on is more than tapping more into your creative process. With regards to how does an idea go from spark of this notion of something and then to something that is tangible that you can experience. Like, I want to try to unveil that creative process, like maybe the mystery behind it too.
I just pull a bunch of books out. I spend a lot of time in libraries. I look at what some of the story references are in the script, what some of the historical references are. So a lot of what I do is like setting up a historical scene, but then incrementally kind of changing it into something new through these degrees of abstraction. So I'll take the Empire State Building, for example. I'll sketch it, and I'll sketch it again and again and again and again. And with each iteration, I'm infusing more of the story that's embedded in the script into this new image. So in the end, we have the appearance of a space that looks both familiar but also kind of strange and fantastic.
Creative careers come with a lot of uncertainty and challenges. What have been some of the toughest moments in your journey, and how did you push through them?
Yeah, I've come to think about my expectations for what my career as an artist was going to look like when I was very young. Never turning out the way that I thought they would. Right. I've come to kind of categorize some experiences that I've had in my career as either life-changing or life-affirming. Life-changing moments can be really exciting and thrilling, when your perspective is expanded and you feel like you have a greater understanding of the world that you didn't have before, but they can also be very scary. So one example for me was I was a Fulbright researcher studying housing policy. And that was back when I was thinking about pursuing a career in a more traditional architecture sense. But it became very, very apparent to me very quickly that I have no idea what I'm talking about when I come to housing policy or planning, city planning codes. So I found myself in another country trying to do research that I couldn't engage in the way that I think the other people I was working with wanted me to engage it. And it was one of those life-changing moments because I suddenly felt very scared. Like I had a lot of imposter syndrome. I felt like I didn't deserve this Fulbright grant to take me to this place to do the thing that I was supposed to do, and I felt like I was just failing all the time. But fate would have it that I came across a community of artists who were reshaping their neighborhood through art practices and not through planning policy. And so I was like, okay, I understand placemaking, I understand renewal from this perspective. I can understand how using art as a tool to leverage community improvement to increase the safety of this particular community. I get that, right? So I made a pivot halfway through my research where I was like, it was a life-changing moment. I'm kind of had to decide very quickly, I'm not going to continue pursuing policy. I'm going to think about spatializing art and stories on an urban scale. So that's life-changing moments. The life-affirming moments are some of the really fun, the best things when you become involved in a project and everything clicks right off the bat. Like you feel like your voice is valued, respected, your skills are needed. And there's not much more to say about that other than that those moments are kind of oftentimes few and far between, but they're very precious and I hold on to them very, very dearly. So when I'm kind of thinking about the challenges of going through my career, if I find myself in a moment that's life-changing and where I feel scared, I've put myself in the habit of thinking about, okay, well, this is a necessary place for me to be right now to get to the next life-affirming moment. And it has to be optimistic, especially in a creative career. I think you're just on a journey of creation, and you have to foster this sense of optimism to know that it's leading somewhere, even though you can't see where it's leading yet, but it's leading you to the next life-affirming moment. It's on the horizon, you're on your way. Yeah, it's a funny way to kind of like trick the mind into fostering optimism if you think that there's some big scary monster called success and it's coming to get you instead of the big scary monster called failure. Right?
And I think as a, maybe just not even just as a creator, artist, designer, just as human beings in general, it's very difficult to really make that pivot and to trust that, you know, things that are in the positive, they will happen. Mm-hmm. Okay, for someone trying to choose a creative path or a career they truly enjoy, what would you recommend? How can they find that passion and pursue it with confidence?
Do everything. When I say everything, it's not like you have to have 7 different careers, but it's more like you follow your intuition, right? You pursue things that you're curious about, you learn more about them, you try new techniques that you're interested in. Sometimes you'll have those life-changing moments where you're like, oh, this actually isn't what I thought. Because when you get into the messiness of life, oftentimes our expectations are different. So I love theater, as I said. When I was in middle school, I went to a Broadway show for the first time. I saw Wicked in Chicago. And there's this song right after the intermission where Galinda is singing about getting everything she ever wanted. She couldn't be happier. But then there's this moment in the song where she's like, I have to admit, it's the tiniest bit unlike I anticipated. But I couldn't be happier? Right? Like, she says it with this kind of like uncertainty. Like, she gets into the moment where she gets everything that she ever wants, and then it's not what she thought. So she changes her perspective. And that's the creative process in a nutshell. I don't really have regrets creatively. I don't really wish that I had done things differently. I've had hard times. I've had challenges. But if you learn to foster and appreciate those challenges, they become productive moments in life instead of regrets. And I don't want to live a life with regrets. You know, there's no wrong way to have a creative career. I think there are efficient ways maybe to have a creative career. But it comes with experience. You can't learn how to do that. I could not have taught myself that as a kid. This is also to say that, like, it gets better, right? Life gets better. Beauty and love is on the horizon, and it's coming towards you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So just be patient. And it gets better. Sorry, just, wow, that hit me. I don't normally cry on camera.
I'm getting emotional. But I love that that's where our conversation took us, and I think so much of the content has been edited and strategized, that people only see the upside, but they don't really see the struggles, and people don't really talk about the struggles in an authentic way. And I really appreciate the emotions and the vulnerability, because that's also one of the reasons why I wanted to do this in the first place, because I do feel as a creator I'm very isolated, and I want to change that. And I know I can't, just like how with the summer program, you're saying to the students repeatedly that it's important for you to show your work, and that we can't do it alone in our own bubbles. That's so hard. Hard. Like, that's so hard for me to do, and I think that's very difficult for everyone. And with the students that I work with, that I'm sure that you've worked with, we uphold ourselves to the highest standards, and we are not kind to ourselves. We're like, we just had this event, this amazing event last night with 14 students, mixed reality projection, activated the city, and I loved every minute of it. But the first thing that I did waking up, I was still in bed, was thinking about what are some things that I could have done better. And I really want to, it's very hard, but I really want to shift that mindset to say, you know what, celebrate the good things, right? Celebrate the wins.
Yeah.
And again, be compassionate to yourself. And yes, there will be things that we want to work on, to improve on, but I think we need to hold that space for ourselves to just breathe and say, oh wow.
So the more that we can bring that out, the more that we can express gratitude for each other, the more we learn how to do it for ourselves and for other people that we work with.
With that, I appreciate you, Richard. Really.
I appreciate you too. Very much.
Great again,
Thank
man. Wow. It's only been 7 days, and this friendship, this partnership, this human to human connection, it's unreal. This guy, he's amazing. Very appreciative of Richard.
Feelings mutual.
Okay, that's a wrap. Okay. Thank you guys very much.